Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
I remember a while ago when I first started putting ads on my videos, and I put up a video where I mentioned something. I forgot what it was, but there's 2 or 3 topics you're not supposed to talk about. Otherwise, your videos get demonetized. And I don't mind that. The demonetization is not the fault of YouTube or Google. It actually comes from the advertisers. The advertisers say, we don't want to put our ads on videos that address certain topics. We don't want to be affiliated with those topics. So it's advertisers. And I don't blame them either. If you're paying money to put your ads someplace, you can do anything you want, put them anywhere you want. Billboards by the side of the road, or a flyer you put underneath the windshield wiper of a car. I don't care. Okay? So the other day, I did a video about civil asset forfeiture, which involved a store that sold a product in one state that was not legal in another state and is not yet completely legal under federal standards either. And I mentioned that word, and the video got demonetized, which was strange because I've mentioned it before in other videos. And so there is that. That's the one thing I don't like, is the unpredictability of what's going to get monetized or demonetized. And I'm usually pretty good about it, but once in a while I'm off. So this video very well could get demonetized because there's no way I can walk around this topic without saying a couple words. But I'm going to do it anyways. So this might be demonetization theater. We'll see what happens. But Joseph, Michael, and Jake all sent me the story from the pressherald.com. And this is a good story. I mean, I couldn't not do it. Federal officials say pot conspiracy involved police, prosecutor, and a town official. The U.S. Attorney's Office alleges the group based in Farmington made millions growing and selling marijuana in violation of the state's medical marijuana laws. This is happening up in the Northeast. A Farmington man pleaded guilty in federal court Wednesday to felonies that authorities said were part of a wide-ranging conspiracy involving illegal growth and sales that resulted in a related 14-count criminal complaint against about a dozen other people, including a county prosecutor, 3 former sheriff's deputies, a police officer, and an elected town official in Rangeley. And I could be mispronouncing it. I apologize. By the way, the story is written by Edward D. Murphy, who's on the staff at pressherald.com. 69-year-old man pleaded guilty to conspiring to possess and distribute more than 1,000 kilos and 1,000 plants. He faces a sentence of up to life in prison and a $10 million fine, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office. That $10 million fine, that's what's going to get you. Can you pay right now? Or do you need a payment plan? $10 million fine. His sentence will be determined by a federal judge at a later date. Federal authorities said he was the primary financier of an operation that grew and sold in violation of Maine's laws on these topics, primarily by selling in bulk to people who weren't caregivers and distributing it out of state. From 2016 to July of 2020, when federal agents raided the growing operation in Farmington, Narrow Gauge Botanicals, LLC, the man made hundreds of thousands of dollars, according to federal prosecutors. Now, prosecutors filed a 14-count criminal complaint Wednesday in federal court that charges 12 people with a range of criminal conduct, 12 people, including conspiracy to distribute and possess with intent to distribute controlled substances, conspiracy to commit money laundering, conspiracy to commit honest services fraud, bank fraud, tampering with proceedings, tampering with documents, conspiracy to defraud the United States and to impede and impair the IRS, tax evasion, and tax fraud, according to a statement issued Wednesday by the U.S. Attorney. In that complaint, another man of Farmington is named as the leader of the criminal organization. He and his co-conspirators realized in excess of $13 million over 6 years through the illicit sale of this stuff, the complaint alleges. He structured his operations to appear as though he complied with Maine's medical regime while he regularly sold bulk on the illicit market, including more than $1 million worth for out-of-state distribution in 2018 and 2019 through a co-defendant who is 27 years old from Scarborough. He's a convicted felon who was ineligible to hold a caregiver card in Maine, the complaint said. So this is all happening up there in Maine. Federal authorities said that man and others laundered money from the drug sales through a complex corporate structure and also lied to financial institutions about the source of the money, filed false tax returns, and hired sheriff's deputies to help gain access to confidential law enforcement records. 2 of the then deputies were rewarded with shares of the business and company cars. You get a car. You get a car. Later, one of them used the network of active law enforcement officials to obtain information about the ongoing federal investigation into his own criminal activity. So the allegation is there's some guys doing some bad stuff. They hire some cops to work with them, and then they ask the cops to give them access to the information about what's being investigated about them. If it works, So the indictment said Franklin County Assistant DA of Farmington tipped off one of the men about the federal investigation. And these people then used government databases to warn the others that they were under investigation. The two men who were at the sheriff's department both left in November of 2019 after about 4 years of service. Federal authorities also charged that Rangeley Selectman, which I'm guessing is an elected position, took tens of thousands of dollars from one of the men to advance his illegal agenda, including a local ordinance that they let the man draft for a town referendum on whether you can use this stuff. He also allegedly paid the selectman thousands of dollars weekly to manage one of the operations, the U.S. Attorney's Office said. Messages left seeking comment from the Franklin County Sheriff's Office and the Franklin County District Attorney were not returned Wednesday night, and I suspect they won't be returned. Potential sentences for the charges filed against the dozen charged on Wednesday range from 3 to 30 years in prison and fines. At least 9 of the defendants are scheduled to appear in federal court in Bangor on Thursday or Friday. A civil complaint also was unsealed Wednesday in federal court that seeks the forfeiture of 12 properties involved in the facilitation of the illegal trafficking and or purchased with the illegal proceeds. And that is an example, I think, where civil asset forfeiture might make sense. You've got some people who are running a criminal enterprise. They're making money with the criminal enterprise, and they're buying stuff with the proceeds of the criminal enterprise. So the police come in, they make a bunch of arrests, and then they say, oh, there's a bunch of property here that's clearly tied to the business. Some of it is the business, and some of it's proceeds of the business. And they file an action against that in conjunction with the criminal action filed against the people that were using and making this stuff. Makes complete sense. That makes complete sense. So not all civil asset forfeiture is wrong. It just, in my mind, has to be tied to an actual criminal allegation, tied to an actual prosecution, and I think it should only be allowed to proceed when there's an actual conviction. I know I'm asking a lot there, but getting back to what's going on up there in Maine is you've got federal officials saying that a conspiracy involving pot involved police, a town official, and a prosecutor, which is not good. It's not good. And so I'm sure there's going to be more ramifications from this. I will continue to follow this. It's kind of hard not to, because it sounds like it's going to cause a real storm of activity up there. And that's the weird thing about some of this stuff is there's so much money involved that it's easy to draw people in. And then once they're in, they probably wish they hadn't gone for that easy money. So Edward D. Murphy wrote the story along with the staff at thepressherald.com. Joseph, Michael, and Jake all sent it. We'll see what happens and whether this video gets demonetized, because I did say the word pot in the title. Federal officials say pot conspiracy involved police, prosecutor, and town official. Like I said, though, don't worry about me if it gets demonetized. That's what happens. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. I was reading the dictionary. I thought it was a poem about everything.